there is always added value when sports and entertainment lawyer Alan K. Fertel is on with us. All right, so Alan, in addition to these lawsuits, we got two super conferences now, and I wish Miami was a part of one of these, if I'm being honest, but the Big Ten and the SEC, they're working together in a way two conferences have never done something like this. We've had talks about alliances, quote unquote alliances in the past, but this is like the most formal alliance I've ever seen, where they've got this joint advisory board to deal with all of these issues that will affect their student athletes. But to me, Alan, I think this is the first sign of these two conferences thinking, do we really need the NCAA? Maybe eventually we break off and just do our own thing.
Well, it's definitely the first drop. I'll give you that. You were right about the alignment before. UM was actually, not UM, but the ACC was actually involved in the alignment fiasco. I'll get to that in a minute. But let me set the table for you on this big deal, because it is a big deal. And if it's big, it involves the Big Ten and the SEC, because they are the biggest, they are the wealthiest, they are the gorillas in the room. Okay. They're creating, as you said, a joint advisory group of presidents, athletic directors, and chancellors to address the, quote, turmoil of what is or was college sports. It clearly is a historic moment. It's the initial step to steer the future of college athletics. It's the latest example of the conferences trying to shift the authority from the NCAA and Charlie Baker to their conferences, and sort of get away from the NCAA's ancient, archaic sports governance model, where they were the hated. The Big Ten commissioner's name is Tony Petitti, and the SEC's is Greg Sankey.
Sankey, yeah.
Sankey, am I right? Do I have that?
No, Sankey.
I apologize. Petitti calls it a meaningful step in an effort to, quote, unquote, fix things. And Sankey searches for a commitment, his search for a common sense solution. So the NCAA, as we said, has created this Tar Baby, where there's NIL, transfer portal, college realignment, and now possible super conferences, which hopefully will lead to a, quote, much brighter horizon. They both deny, as you know they're going to deny, that the advisory board is a move to break away from the NCAA. But I want you Dolphin fans for a moment to remember Nick Satan's last words to Dolphin fans the day before he got off on a plane and took off to Tuscaloosa. When asked if he would be leaving to coach Alabama, quote, "I will not be the coach at Alabama," closed quote. So you can't take anything that anybody says. And you know what? This turmoil has caused my favorite Nick Satan to leave the house.
That's right.
He has left because he could not handle the fact that his players are now pros. They're making as much money as the coaches or more, maybe not as much as Satan himself. But now they can transfer when he yells at them and sits them down and doesn't want them to play as a freshman or sophomore. And I think that is telling. A 70-year-old coach who's the best coach in college football, that was horrible coach at Miami, my opinion. Clearly.
Yes, I agree.
I'm a Giant fan, but you know, when you lie, man. You can be a Giant fan and smell and hear the lie, and be a Kane fan or a Dolphin fan, and you get the same lie. So my line to this is, don't listen to their BS, because everybody's full of BS right now. But the question really becomes, what is the right path for college athletics and the NCAA? And it's long overdue. These two are big boys, the big boys of college sports. Let me give you a little example. This encompasses if these two were to start a super conference, they would have 34 schools in 27 different states. Football, which, as we all know, is the number one income producer in the NCAA, they have 3 natties, national championships. Each will earn each conference will earn $25 million more than any other conference in their media deals.
Wow.
And I hope you remember, and I'm sure you do, we had a conversation about the ACC and what a horrible media deal they have. And
Yes.
that is one of the reasons that Florida State is suing them for their incompetency and their ineptness in negotiating rights for what's called the third level. I went through that with you guys before. The first level is like CBS, NBC, the major broadcasting. Second level is they have ESPN in there now, but really the second level is ESPN, ESPN2, Fox Sports. That second level. The third is what is usually given to each individual school to market their games that are not picked up on the first two levels. The ACC sold the third tier to a company called Raycom, which we all heard about when we were growing up, because
we've come to find out there was nepotism at play there that we didn't know about before.
Of course there was, and of course there is, but really what it did was Raycom put the ACC on the map when it was a basketball real deal, because it was, basketball back in the day, Duke, NC State with Valvano. I mean, there was some really, really good stuff going on. So they did this deal a long time ago. And all of a sudden that became sort of like the NCAA. Well, if you do it 30, 40 years ago, it must work today, because nothing's changed. Yeah. What's changed from 30 years ago? I was 35, 30 years ago. I'm 64 and a half now. Nothing's changed. I'm the same dude. Come on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what's going on there. There's a little more. And the funny thing is these two commissioners are buds. They're friends. They're both from New York. They both lead rival billion-dollar businesses. Petiti is a longtime media and Major League Baseball exec. Saki is a lifelong college athletics administrator. It's a perfect puzzle piece for this, our fantasy of this joint mega super conference. It all started in 2021, and you were referring to this with an alliance between the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12, which is now the Pac-0.
Yeah, so I think it's like the Pac-2.
Well, is it still a Pac-2?
I'm not. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Washington State and Oregon State are still not out of it, or I don't even know if.
How do they have a conference? Well, we'll figure that out on another podcast.
They're going to play each other 12 times next year.
In every sport.
Yeah.
In every sport. So it started then. It imploded when former Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren broke their quote unquote gentleman's agreement not to poach each other's schools, and he poached USC and UCLA, and then the proverbial hit the fan.
That's right.
So now the Big Ten has a new and rich dance partner, man. I mean, this is great. Big Ten, SEC, they now have a quote special project, close quote, between the conferences. But that happened now, and what just happened was 5 major conferences, commissioners, and Charlie Baker had a powwow, and they came out with what's called, quote, Project D1, close quote, which is universities are allowed to strike deals directly with the players, with the athletes. It creates a subdivision where every student would receive $30,000 in sports. This is related to sports.
Right.
$30,000 in trust for FBS schools per year of play, a minimum of 2. Okay, so that's going to try to help, but that's not really going to do it, because it's the number one priority is an acceptable athlete compensation model. And right now there's a real problem with that. I was talking to you about the House case. It's possible billions of dollars are going to go to these athletes. So why would they be happy with some stipend?
Right.
But the biggies, like the Big Ten, the major, the 5, they are going to be required to contribute $10 to $15 million per school, operate within a system that is fair, possibly revenue sharing. And with the NCAA facing a half a dozen to a dozen suits over NIL, the transfer portal, the NCAA rules, I don't see anybody at this point in time agreeing on anything. It's sort of like Republicans and Democrats. I don't want to go.
It's a lot like that,
political with you, but you've got you've got the old powers. Okay, you got the crotchety old NCAA guys that, like I said, want to believe that we're back in like 1980 or 90 even, and we're not. And things have to change, and athletes have to be compensated. And we always look, we wanted that. We asked for that our whole lives. I think just as a matter of fairness, even before I became an attorney, when I was a college athlete, I mean, I would have loved. Now I was a D2, so it wouldn't have really meant much. But you want the athletes to be compensated.
Right.
When the NCAA says, "Oh, you are compensated. You're getting a scholarship, and you're getting some food, and you're going to be shown where the tutorials are. Even if you never go there, you're going to be shown in the athletic department where you can go for help, and that's just so valuable." Well, that died with Calipari and the one and done.
And if you're a small business owner, I hope you guys are taking advantage and utilizing LinkedIn Jobs. This is the best way to hire, because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. You can help make that 2.6 million pretty soon. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And I know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. Get all your prop bets ready, folks. It's Super Bowl week. Happy Super Bowl to those who celebrate from America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3, because not only can you bet on who's going to win Super Bowl 58, I'm leaning to Kansas City, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown. How many points will be scored? Who's going to score the first touchdown? Will it be a field goal? You can get props on Taylor Swift. You can get props on the national anthem and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
When your athlete goes to a university for 1 year and leaves, and the only reason they're going to the university at that time was because they were forced. Now you got basketball players going to the G League right out of high school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has to change, and it has to change for the better. But now it's upside down. I mean, look, transfer portal, starting quarterbacks are leaving. Why are they leaving, you might ask? Because somebody told them that their bag is bigger than the bag that they have. Now, that's a violation of NCAA rules. You cannot use the bag to recruit the athlete. There should be no deals that are made until the athlete enrolls in your school.
Right.
But that's ass backwards. And that's what Tennessee's actually saying, even though I disagree. It's saying, well, leave it open. Let all of the kids know how much they're going to get. Let everyone know. But then you've got chaos. This was really designed to stop boosters from paying benefits illegally to athletes, ruining their eligibility. They would never file a tax return. It usually was cash or other types of incentives. And that's what caused NIL, especially now that you've got social media. It's a total different ballgame where these athletes can just tweet, or it's not even tweeting anymore, but you can just represent the school. It's crazy. Hi, go to the University of Tennessee and you can watch me play in pajamas or whatever. I'm just saying, it's gotten to the point of crazy. So it's shifted from the crazy old school world that we had, where you were If you transferred, you sat down a year, and then you had 5 to complete 4. To now, you got a guy at the I believe, is like 9 years, but that, of course, was injury more than anything else.
Yes, yeah, with Cam McCormick. Yeah, he lost 4 full seasons from injury.
And there was COVID, and the NCAA did what they did. And look, that would have never happened, quote, back in the day, close quote. They couldn't give a crap about the athlete. They didn't care if the athlete was in a car accident. They didn't care. They didn't care. All they cared about was themselves. And now they have to care because judges are telling them they have to care. Their lawyers are telling them they have to care. And now we go to sports litigation. Yeah, it's antitrust. Yeah, it's breach of contract. But really what this is exactly what's in my wheelhouse. This is litigating sports issues that happen to be law issues. And it's great. I'm able to speak to you. I'm able to speak at conferences. This NIL thing, I told you, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing because when you play in the Wild West and things are in the Wild West, crazy stuff happens. And I get to hang out with you and talk to you and your peeps and listen to you on the radio. Long for the day of QAM back in the day. But you know what? This is good. This is fun. This is what I do. It's a pleasure to prepare. When you tell me you're sending me on the show or asking me to be on the show.
And the amount of homework you do, I feel like I should have you on retainer or something because you get so prepared for these.
You know what? You don't need to pay me a retainer. I'm doing just fine. You just need to keep calling me when you have legal issues. It's my pleasure to come here. I'll talk almost any sport with you. You know that. And this weekend, I spent a little time on you. That's my pleasure, man, to make people a little smarter than they were yesterday, give them stuff to talk about with their buds, talk at a bar, hang out. We used to all have our opinions, and you never knew who was right or who was wrong. This guy played for that team, and then now you break out a freaking cell phone, and you know exactly who's talking bullshit and who's telling the truth because the stats are there. Oh, he batted 332. No, he didn't. He batted 310. And then you go home and have to look up something in a newspaper or an encyclopedia or something. You couldn't get that information. Now you say, hey, Siri, tell me about this guy's contract.
There she. Oh, she.
There she is. Check it out. Look at this. Tell me about.
Oh, there she goes. She's got it. Is that Nico? $8 million Nico.
I didn't. As far as Nico goes, I want you to know honestly, from what my client tells me, great kid, great family.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure and I was actually talking to him the other day. I said, did the deal ever go through? Because I didn't paper it. I was doing the paper on it. And he said, no. But I'm still in contact with the parents, and he comes from good stock. And some of these kids do, but some of these kids come from the inner city, and you give them the money now, and it won't be there. The rate of bankruptcy on professional athletes. Can you imagine what the numbers are? First of all, like I said before, the parents get the money in trust for the kid. They're guardians, legal guardians. In Florida, you go and you get a probate lawyer, and you go to probate court, and a probate judge approves the deal. And the reason for that is twofold. One, the deal does not end when the athlete turns 18. In Florida, if a minor signs a contract, which you can't do on this because none of these guys, I believe, are 17. They might be. Some freshmen may be 17. But if a 17-year-old signs a contract, he doesn't have what's called capacity. He's not eligible. He is a minor. He does not reach majority. So his parents have to go get that contract blessed in the court. Once the contract is blessed, once he turns 18 or 19, he can't disavow the contract. But the thing about NIL deals, and I want you to know this, it's really important. It only runs until the time that you are out of school or out of eligibility. All right. So let's say these agents sign a kid an NIL deal. That they can invest money in him, they invest time and effort into him. When that kid, he turns there's no more time to play football. His eligibility has expired, or he's out of time by time. He then could sign a contract with whoever he wants.
That's right.
Because it's limited to the time that you're playing or that you've terminated your eligibility. So they got to be really, really careful because they're putting a lot of money in these kids' pockets, and then they can jump to, like Drew or someone else that can poach them. So like, it's interesting. The schools are poaching the schools on the transfer portal. The conferences are poaching the conferences on the conference situation. And the athlete is getting poached by agents and marketing guys once they leave the NIL space. So maybe it's just about poaching because everyone seems to be doing it, seems to be getting away with it. But the NCAA is correct on the initial premise that this can't be a recruiting tool, and it has to be. So what do you do then? You have to have some uniform laws, preemption, one federal law that codifies after a real talk to all of the administrators and all of the ADs and all of the chancellors and the presidents, what's best for the athlete. The athlete has now taken control. They have the ability to speak out on social media. They have followers out the yin. They don't have to talk through a coach. They don't have to talk through an agent. They don't have to talk through anybody. And that's the way of the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, otherwise it's going to be full Wild Wild West. I appreciate your time as always. We'll wrap it up on that note. And with the amount of craziness going on, I'm sure it's not going to be too long before we speak again. Alan Fertel, sports and entertainment lawyer. Thank you so much for the time and enjoy the rest of your week.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Alex. Thanks for having me. And hello to your peeps out there, your youth fans. And remember, I am an alumni.
Yes, okay? He is.
Because my daughter went to a bad university, which isn't bad, really. But you hate them. Take care,
I love it. We'll talk to everyone next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.